സാറേ എല്ലാം ഒന്നുമില്ലേ? ഒരു മിനിറ്റ് രഞ്ജിത്തൊന്ന് കേറട്ടെ. രഞ്ജിത്ത് രഞ്ജിത്ത്
മഞ്ഞ ഷർട്ട് കിട്ടിയില്ല.
രഞ്ജിത്തിന് ഹോസ്റ്റാക്കട്ടെ
സാർ? മഞ്ഞ ഷർട്ട് മഞ്ഞ കളിക്കണ്ട.
ഇല്ല, നിങ്ങളൊന്നും മഞ്ഞല്ലേ. എനിക്ക് നിഹാസ് കുറെ ഷർട്ട് വാങ്ങി തന്നിട്ടുണ്ട്. ഓരോ ആഴ്ച
കേൾക്കണ്ടോ?
ഷർട്ട് വാങ്ങി തന്നിട്ടുണ്ട്. വാങ്ങി തന്നിട്ടില്ല.
ഹോസ്റ്റാക്കുന്നുണ്ടേ.
ഓക്കെ ഓക്കെ. നിഹാസ് കുറെ വാങ്ങിക്കേണ്ടി വരും. 7 എന്തായാലും വാങ്ങിച്ചപ്പോ.
മഞ്ഞ ഇനി ഓറഞ്ച് റെഡ് അല്ലേ വേണ്ടോ? രഞ്ജിത്തിന്റെ ഓഫീസായിട്ടാ ഇത്. KGM ചെറിയൊരു പരിപാടി തന്നെയാണ്. ഞാൻ പുറത്തേക്ക് വന്നതാണ്. IMS 7th ഫ്ലോറിൽ KGM ഒരു ഓഫീസ് ഉണ്ട്. അപ്പൊ ഞങ്ങളുടെ ചെറിയൊരു പ്ലാനിങ് മീറ്റിംഗ് ഉണ്ട് ഇവിടെ. അപ്പൊ അതിന് വന്നപ്പോഴേ. അപ്പൊ ഇത് ഒറേഷൻ ഇല്ലേ ഇപ്പൊ? ഒറേഷൻ കൃഷ്ണകുമാറിന്റെ ഒരു ഒറേഷൻ അതുണ്ടല്ലോ.
ഒറേഷൻ ഉണ്ട്, കൃഷ്ണകുമാറിന്റെ ഒറേഷൻ ഉണ്ട് 10 മിനിറ്റ്.
ഓക്കെ ഓക്കെ, അത് വെച്ചാ തുടങ്ങുന്നത്. ഓക്കെ,
നമുക്ക് പെട്ടെന്ന് തുടങ്ങാം. വേറെ മീറ്റിംഗുകൾ ഉണ്ടോ രമേശ്?
ഉണ്ട്. വേറെ ഇച്ചിരി 8:30 സന്തോഷിനെ വിളിക്കാന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു. 8:15 സന്തോഷ്, ദിഗന്ത്, ഇങ്ങനെ കുറച്ചു നേരം അറ്റൻഡ് ചെയ്തിട്ട് പോവാ. ഒരു ½ അവർ.
ജോസ് ആണ് ഇന്നത്തെ ചെയർ.
പിന്നെ കോഴിക്കോടിന്റെ പ്രോഗ്രാം അല്ലേ, കുറച്ചേരം കേട്ടിട്ട്.
ഗുഡ് ഈവനിങ്. ഗുഡ് ഈവനിങ്. നമസ്കാരം.
കുമാർ സർ.
എന്നെ ഹോസ്റ്റാക്കോ? നമുക്ക് തുടങ്ങാം.
ഓക്കെ ഓക്കെ, ഞാൻ സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ചെയ്യാം.
ഹോസ്റ്റാക്കോ?
ഓക്കെ ഓക്കെ.
ജോസ് എന്ത് പറയുന്നത് അറിയാൻ വേണ്ടി ഇരിക്കുകയാണ്. ജോസ്
രഞ്ജിത്ത് കേൾക്കുന്നുണ്ടോ ഞാൻ പറയുന്നത്? ഓക്കെ, താങ്ക് യു.
ഒരു മഞ്ഞ ഷർട്ടിന് കുറവുണ്ട്.
സെക്രട്ടറി ഇലയാണ്, പ്രസന്റർ മാത്രമേ ഇല്ല. എല്ലോ ഷർട്ട് ഇടാൻ പോയിരിക്കാന്ന് തോന്നുന്നു.
ഈ അല്ലേ ഉള്ളൂ. ഇത് തന്നെ
ജോസ് എലവാണ്, ഏകദേശം എലവാണ് ജോസ്.
അത് ഓർത്തില്ല, ശരിക്കും പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഓർത്തില്ല എന്നുള്ള. പ്രസിഡന്റ് ഇതെല്ലാം വളരെ കറക്റ്റമായിട്ട്
എനിക്ക് കോഴിക്കോട് ഷർട്ട് വാങ്ങി തന്നിട്ടുണ്ട്. നിങ്ങൾക്ക് തന്നില്ല?
എന്നോട് ചേരാന്ന് പറഞ്ഞല്ലോ, ഷർട്ട് തന്നില്ല.
ഷർട്ട് അവർ തരേണ്ടതാ ശരിക്കും. എനിക്കൊക്കെ തന്നിട്ടുണ്ട്, അടുത്ത ആഴ്ചക്കൊക്കെ തന്നിട്ടുണ്ട്. അത് നിഹാസിനെ കോൺടാക്ട്
നിഹാസിനോട് അടുത്ത ആഴ്ച അയക്കാൻ പറയാം എല്ലാവർക്കും.
എനിക്കൊക്കെ അയച്ചു തന്നിട്ടുണ്ട്, ഇവർക്കൊന്നും അയച്ചു കൊടുത്തില്ലെന്ന് തോന്നുന്നു. അതാ കുഴപ്പം.
പ്രസിഡന്റിന് 7 ഷർട്ട് കിട്ടുമല്ലോ ഇപ്പം. പ്രസിഡന്റ്
നിങ്ങൾക്ക് മാത്രമല്ല, നിയാസ് നാരായണന് മാത്രമേ അയച്ചു കൊടുത്തുള്ളൂ, എനിക്ക് പോലും തന്നിട്ടില്ല.
തന്നിട്ടില്ല, അതാണ്.
നാരായണൻ, സ്റ്റേറ്റ് പ്രസിഡന്റ്, Dr. Bala, Dr. Ramesh, senior members of the profession, and my dear friends. Today, we will have two programs. June 12th was World Child Labour Day. The Labour Day theme oration will be done by Dr. Krishna Kumar, Director IMHANS, and today's scientific session is by our Krishna Mohan, State Treasurer, IAP, and he will talk on atopic dermatitis. ഇച്ചി മാത്രമല്ല, സ്ക്രാച്ചിങ് കൂടിയാണ് ഷോ എന്നാണ് പറഞ്ഞിരിക്കുന്നത്. ഇച്ചി ആൻഡ് സ്ക്രാച്ചി ഷോ. ചൊറി മാത്രമല്ല, മാന്തലും ഉണ്ട് എന്നാണ് അല്ലേ? മലയാളത്തിലേക്കാണെങ്കിൽ ഇച്ചി ആൻഡ് സ്ക്രാച്ചി ഷോ. And the session is chaired by Dr. O. Jose, Additional Professor of Pediatrics, Government Medical College, Alappuzha, past Secretary of IAP Kerala, and the present National Executive Board member, as well as the Secretary, National Allergy and Immunology Chapter. I welcome Dr. Narayanan, Dr. Bala, Dr. Krishna Kumar, Dr. Ramesh, as well as today's chair, Dr. Jose, as well as today's speaker, Dr. Krishna Mohan, and all other members to this Zoom meeting. Before going to Dr. Krishna Kumar, I just invite Dr. Narayanan for an opening remarks. He will definitely, I think he will have meetings. Okay. Narayanan, Dr. Narayanan. രഞ്ജിത്ത്, നാരായണ ഒന്ന്. ഡോക്ടർ നാരായണൻ അൺമ്യൂട്ട് ചെയ്യുക. ഓക്കെ, ഓക്കെ, പറഞ്ഞോ.
Sorry, sir. Dr. Ashraf, Dr. Krishna Mohan, Krishna Kumar, Ramesh Kumar, and my dear friends, again wishing the Calicut branch webinar. Today is the yellow day. This week is yellow day. Wishing the function, the webinar, all success. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Narayanan. Now I invite Dr. Krishna Kumar for theme oration on Child Labour Day. Dr. Krishna Kumar.
Good evening to all. Thanks to Dr. Ashraf, Dr. Nihas for this opportunity. State President Dr. Narayanan, Dr. Ramesh, Dr. Jose, other senior teachers, friends. I know you're all waiting, or we are all waiting to hear Krishna Mohan talking about atopic dermatitis. So this talk on World Day Against Child Labor is a 10 minutes program. So what I try to, I'm not going into the details of nature and consequences of child labor. I'll be just discussing or introducing the topic of child labor in connection with the COVID-19 pandemic, based on the observations of UNICEF and the International Labour Organizations. The theme this year is protect children from child labor, and it is important now more than ever because of the pandemic situation. So what is child labor? There is work done by children under the age of 18 years, where there is exploitation and mental, physical, and social harm. That is definition by International Labour Organization. Or work that interferes or blocks children's access to education and deprives them of their childhood potential and dignity. The Indian Parliament in 1986 passed the Child and Adolescent Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act, which is amended in 1916. So the amended act prohibits employment of children below 18 years, except in situations where the child is permitted to work only to help family enterprise after school hours without causing interruption to studies or during vacations. Adolescent, for this purpose, they define as 14 to 18 years. Children in the 14 to 18 year age group may be employed, but not in hazardous occupations. Now, the data of child labor in India shows that in 2001, there were around 12 million children. But in 2011 census, it reduced to 10 million. And of the 10 million, majority, more than 50% are in Bihar, UP, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh. So there is 45% reduction in child labor during this past decade. And it is attributed to schemes like Right to Education, MNREGA, Midday Meal Program, and role of active non-governmental organizations. We don't see these type of events now in Kerala. You see, there is a gradual reduction in child labor in Kerala. In 2011 census actually showed an increase. And the reason for this increase is a lot of migrant laborers came and their children were employed in domestic work, hotels, small industries, construction work, and children begging has become a problem now. But child labor as such is not a mainstream problem in Kerala now. In 2017, the state government started the Sarana Balyam scheme to stop begging in the premises of temples. Sarana is based in Sabarimala. And in 2018, actually, one child laborers was rescued. Now, last 2 decades showed a reduction in child labor. 94 million fewer children engaged in child labor. Now it is a process is reverting the progress. That is what but this is, we may see an increase in child labor for the first time in 20 years because of the COVID pandemic situation. ദശലക്ഷക്കണക്കിന് കുട്ടികളെ ബാലവേലയിലേക്ക് തിരിച്ചുവിടാൻ സാധ്യതയാണ് UN പറയുന്നത്. So ILO and UNICEF has decided to look into the ways the crisis affecting child labor and they suggested solutions. So what they say is it is a time of crisis, but it is a time to act also. So they prepared a joint message. So the data is from this joint message. So how the economic slowdown affected child situation? So what they say is the economic slowdown is likely to continue long after the COVID-19 pandemic. So there will be reduced demand for workers, lower wages, loss of jobs, and the vulnerable population, people in slum with no affordable house, working in informal economy, and also people with no social protection, social security. Around 55% of people all over the world have no social security or social protection. And all this will result in a rise in poverty. What they say is that millions of people will be suffering from extreme poverty in the coming years. And it is the duty of governments and civil society to prevent a health crisis becoming a child rights crisis. So we have to keep children healthy and well nourished bring water, good water, sanitation, hygiene to vulnerable children, continue help children learning, support families to care for children, protection from exploitation, and more attention to children of refugees and migrant children and those affected with conflict. Unemployment or low wages compel children to work. And the family has no options. Children may be sent away for work. And parents may be going other places looking for job. And when children are left behind, they are vulnerable to exploitation. And they may be subjected to employment exploitation. And also there is the migrant crisis. Income from migrant laborers are reduced. So the family finances collapse. And the credit crisis is there. You can't get loan or help from other agencies. So children will work for pay in vulnerable conditions. And also there is a risk that the business people may deliberately recruit children because you need to pay lower wages and the earnings can be improved by child labor. And parents may not be able to pay the school fees, so dropout rate may increase. And greater informal push many children out of school to labor market. And household, when they lost jobs, may be starting their own small enterprises where children will be employed. And also in the informal sector, it may be difficult for the government to implement government regulations. And also the government also may not be in a position to implement the regulations. We all know that several state governments are trying to increase the working hours and amend the labor laws for to favor businessmen or for income generation and all. And in this situation, girls will be more vulnerable to exploitation. And closing of educational institutions have other effect also. When the schools are closed, children are remaining idle, so naturally they may be used for other employment. And many schools have moved online with distance learning programs, and nearly half the world has no access to internet. So many students are left behind. This is all the more important where children, when there is children with disability, like mild intellectual disability, other disabilities who are not in a position to use internet or technology. So they may suffer maximum. And also schools are not for education alone. There is the midday meal schemes, other social protection measures. So all these are lost. And children of legal working age, that is 14 to 18 year age group, may drop out from a school and search for employment. At the same time, they have limited education and limited skills. So they may be exploited. And children may seek employment in informal and domestic sector, where they may be subjected to exploitation. And recently, the studies say that after the lockdown, there is a gradual increase in number of child labor. And the other issue is increasing death rate. Growing number of children are left without one or both parents. Children deprived of family care are vulnerable to child labor, child trafficking, and exploitation. And there is catastrophic health expenditure which the families cannot tolerate. And that leads to push the children for child labor, for the survival of the whole family. And girls may require to look after the sick family members. When adults get sick or die, children are compelled to take over their work. and maternal death results in the need for labor inside the home. So these are all problems which the International Labour Organization and UNICEF believes that which we have to face in the future. Now they have given some solutions. The right socio-economic and child protection policy to tide over the immediate crisis. Provide decent employment and safe return to work for adults. And reopening of schools, maintaining the social distance and all other security measures. And it is very important, according to the UNICEF, that you have to guarantee access to money to families. And past evidence illustrate that cash transfers to the family, direct cash transfers benefit families and help reduce child labor. And also there is a need to adapt, improve, strengthen child protection systems. So there is no single solution. Governments need to take proactive action with a comprehensive plan with broader policies for social education, social protection, justice, labor markets, and international human and labor rights considerations. So it is important that we turn the crisis to an opportunity by actions to protect income and jobs. It is possible that when there's a crisis situation, we try to use or utilize other opportunities, providing unemployment benefits and other income support to those who are out of work, cash transfer programs, and better organization, cooperation, dialogue among the governments of different countries, better cooperation between employers and workers' organizations. So all these may be an opportunity to improve the well-being of the society. So we had some very good experience. Online education now is going to be in a big way in Kerala, with local self-government bodies or NGOs and individuals helping children to learn online. With all the problems, I think it is a positive step. And then there is a lot of initiatives like telemedicine, tele-counseling programs. We have started an online counseling program for patients. So even after the COVID situation is over, it will help patients coming from faraway places. That is an advantage. And in cancer care, all these online programs are doing very well, and providing cancer care drugs from IMCH to faraway places. So the patients need not come to hospital for injections. Thanks to the superintendent, Dr. C. Kumar, Dr. Ajit. No, this program is doing very well. These are the PID patients. They are giving IVIG from periphery PHCs. The patient need not come to Calicut or IMCH. So these are some positive aspects of this crisis, and that is what UNICEF and ILO says. So the government should act proactively to turn the crisis into an opportunity. Now you see this is the last slide. In the 14th or 15th century, a French countryman advised that nobles' huntsmen should choose a boy servant 7 or 8 years old. And this boy should be beaten up until he has a proper training, or he doesn't fail to carry out his master's orders. So child labor was not considered as something illegal or unethical before 18th century. It is only the 19th century, last part of 19th, later part of like 19th century, that regulations against child labor came, like fixing hours for children who work. But from all this period, we have now evolved and we have reached a state where we now consider children below the age of 18 working is something unethical and something is a crime against humanity. So if we don't give or if we don't act proactively, the COVID pandemic crisis may lead to an opposite situation. So that is something which the civil society members, government, all should consider. So thank you for the opportunity and for patient listening.
Thank you, Dr. Krishnakumar, for that nice message. The COVID-19 has impacts in many areas, including child labor. This year's theme for Child Labor Day by UNICEF and International Labour Organization is COVID-19, protect children from child labor now more than ever. Now we move on to our scientific session, that is atopic dermatitis, the itchy and scratchy show by Dr. Krishna Mohan. I invite Dr. Jose to chair the session. Over to Jose. Dr. Jose.
President Dr. Ashraf sir and senior members of IAP Calicut. Am I audible? Audible?
Yeah.
Oh. President Narayanan, Dr. Ramesh, and all the senior members of the IAP Kerala and the IAP Kozhikode branch. Our past President Shaji Tom sir is there. So I think IAP Kozhikode branch doing a series of epidemic CMEs. So pandemic is going on, epidemic going in Kozhikode. In all over India, the IAP Kozhikode branch is the one branch I observing conducting every week 3 CMEs. So it's a marvelous or fantastic IAP academy activities concentrate. Today is the 5th day of rainbow program, yellow. So I think 2 more colors, orange and reds, are waiting for the IAP epidemic for IAP Kozhikode branch and IAP Kerala State branch. So today we had a very good oration by Dr. Krishnakumar sir. Congratulations sir for giving a very good oration in this scenario of COVID-19. And today another important scientific aspect going to discuss by none other than our Krishna Mohan, atopic dermatitis. So atopic dermatitis or atopic eczema is a, as Dr. Ashraf sir mentioned, it's a itchy and scratchy, chronic and relapsing inflammation of the skins. So the incidence is around 10 to 11% in day-to-day practice. So it is a itching and scratching for the treating physician to properly treat the patient for the comfort of the patient. So to deal with this topic, Dr. Krishna Mohan, our young and dynamic academicians, and she's famous now. The all over India, he is very famous regarding the all allergy topic dealing. In his topic, every aspect there will be a message to all the listeners. I think this is also a very important topic. It will be enlightened by all the pediatricians by Dr. Krishna Mohan. So now they all over. So I invite Krishna Mohan to start the scientific program. Atopic dermatitis. Thank you.
Oh, is it audible, sir?
Audible, Krishna Mohan.
Okay. At the outset, let me thank IAP Kozhikode, especially Ashraf sir and Nihas for giving me this opportunity, and also dearest Jose sir for chairing the session. So the topic for today's discussion is atopic dermatitis, the itchy and scratchy show. So can all of you please mute your audio? I think a lot of sound are coming out. Ranjit, can you please mute? Okay, why should we discuss atopic dermatitis? because it is the most common chronic relapsing skin disease seen in infancy and childhood. And how does it occur? It occurs 60% of atopic dermatitis cases occur in the first year of life and 85 to 90% by 5 years. What is the pathogenesis? Pathogenesis, most of you will be knowing, there is basically a defective skin barrier, reduced skin innate immune responses, and a polarized adaptive immune responses. What is this polarized adaptive immune response? That means as in any atopic disease, there is a Th2 polarization, T helper 2 cell polarization. That means that usually when a person is encountered with an allergen, the response will be Th1, that is T helper cells 1 will be produced. But in studying here, Th2. So these are the main pathogenic things. And it is basically a genetic disease where lot of genes have been implicated in this. And the most important one is filaggrin gene. So what is filaggrin? Filaggrin is a component which maintains the cell integrity and barrier function. As you can see in this picture, just like a wall with bricks and cement in between, that is keratinocytes and cementing substance. So filaggrin is essential for holding these keratinocytes together. So expression of filaggrin and ceramide decreases in skin with atopic dermatitis, and it is considered as the primary cause of barrier dysfunction. Now we have heard about what is called as allergic march. So allergic march is nothing but the allergy, the clinical symptoms of allergy occurs like a march. That is, as age advances, it starts with atopic dermatitis, then proceeds to food allergy, then to rhinitis, and then finally to asthma. So what is the importance of this picture? So in simple terms, we can say atopic dermatitis is a gateway of allergy. So here in the stage of atopic dermatitis, if you are able to control it really well, then there is a chance that the patient may not proceed to allergic rhinitis or asthma. So 75% of atopic dermatitis patients get allergic rhinitis, a concomitant allergy, severe atopic dermatitis. Also around 30 to 70% of patients with severe atopic dermatitis get asthma and therefore. So that is the importance of this atopic march. Now coming to clinical features. The three cardinal features are, one is itching, cirrhosis, and skin lesions. So this is what is called as the itch-scratch cycle. Whatever is happening in a case of atopic, all symptoms, complication, everything starts with an itch. And it is said to be an itch that rashes. That is, the itch will initiate the rash by release of the pro-inflammatory mediators. As you can see in this picture, when you scratch, there will be damage to the skin. That leads to the release of inflammatory mediators, and that further leads to itch and scratch, and finally results in a dry red skin. Atopic dermatitis occurs in three phases: infantile, childhood, and adult. So infantile phase means from birth to 2 years. In infantile phase, the areas more involved are the cheeks, forehead, extensor aspects, and there will be severe itching. What is the reason for the cheeks in getting involved? So when a small baby starts breastfeeding, when the atopic features are there, the friction between the face and the cheeks and the breast, that leads to the lesions of the cheeks. And when the baby starts crawling, the extensor aspects, the knee and the elbows, there the extensor aspects gets involved. The important feature of infantile atopic dermatitis, there will be erythema, crusting and oozing, and there will be severe itching. And when it proceeds, then next goes to the childhood phase, that is from 2 to 12 years. Here we get the involvement of flexors as well as involvement of neck. Is what is called as the atopic dirty neck side, and also the wrist and ankle also gets involved. And finally, adult phase starts from 12 years and it may exist lifelong, and the lesions will be non-specific here. The characteristic feature in adult phase will be lichenification, that is nothing but the thickening of the skin. And the areas involved, it can be head and neck type, upper trunk, shoulders, and scalp are involved, or sometimes adults might only have chronic hand eczema. Sometimes in atopic dermatitis childhood they have all features, but finally when they reach adolescenthood there will be only chronic hand eczema. Now, how will you diagnose this? Atopic dermatitis is basically a clinical diagnosis. The diagnosis is based on the history, morphology and distribution of lesion and associated clinical signs. And we have different diagnostic criteria systems. This is the most accepted and earliest Hanifin and Raschka criteria, which came in 1980. I kept this in a single page, even though it is not legible. I kept this in a single page to show how big it is. So there are 4 major criteria and 23 minor criteria. And the diagnosis is made if there are 3 of the 4 major criteria and 3 of 23 minor criteria. It is not easy to remember all these criteria. What you can do is that you can keep in your desktop, and just if you have it out, you can take and look. So the major criteria are important. Pruritus, typical morphology and distribution, chronically relapsing dermatitis, and a personal or family history of atopy. I'm not going into the details of the minor criteria. So this is a little exhaustive list. So recently, there are 2 more other diagnostic criteria. One is from the United Kingdom Working Party and the American Academy of Dermatology. They also have released diagnostic criteria. You can use any one of these. And about the minor criteria, there are certain conditions, skin conditions, which when seen, we can have a suspicion of underlying atopic dermatitis. Pityriasis alba, P. alba is one such condition. That doesn't mean that all cases of pityriasis alba have atopic dermatitis, but there is more chance to be an underlying atopic dermatitis if you see a case of pityriasis alba. Palmar hyperlinearity, this is another condition. Cradle cap, when it persists, usually cradle cap is usually seen, but when it persists beyond 3 months, we have to keep a suspicion of atopic dermatitis in our mind. Juvenile plantar dermatosis, this is also an important minor criteria. And secondary infection, this is a very, very important complication of atopic dermatitis. The skin of atopic dermatitis patients are more prone to develop all sorts of infections, not only bacterial, viral as well as fungal. Viral means even HFMD. I have seen patients of my asthmatic and allergic rhinitis patients, HFMD getting very much worsened. Sometimes they may require antibiotics for the secondary infection. Similarly, in herpes also, chickenpox also, atopic dermatitis patient, there will be a more serious course. And insect bite hypersensitivity is also common in atopic patient. Now coming to diagnostic tests, as I have already told, diagnosis is clinical, but we usually do a lot of tests. What about total IgE? Total IgE may be elevated, but it can be normal also. In up to 30% of cases, it can be normal. So it is non-specific. Specific IgE directed against some specific allergen you can do, but it won't help you much in your treatment part. Eosinophils may be or may not be raised. It's an inflammatory reaction. Eosinophils can be raised, but it is highly non-specific. In a country like India, where there are a lot of helminthic infestation, a raised eosinophil is not diagnostic. So the bottom line is that there is no specific biomarkers recommended for diagnosis and assessment of severity. Monitoring of IgE levels is not recommended. Routine allergy testing is also not recommended. Atopic patch test is not routinely recommended. It can be done for the inhalant allergens, never for the food allergens. And there are certain scoring systems, just like the diagnostic scoring system, there are certain scoring systems for assessing severity. I'm not going to the details of that. There are 2 accepted scoring systems. One is SCORAD. SCORAD is scoring for atopic dermatitis. And second one is EASI, Eczema Area and Severity Index. In SCORAD, both the physician, objective physician estimates as well as the patient symptoms are counted, and then only the severity is assessed. In EASI, Eczema Area and Severity Index, only the objective physician estimates of severity is considered. Now coming to the differential diagnosis, atopic dermatitis mimics. So whenever you are suspecting a case of atopic dermatitis, you have started treatment, but you are not getting adequate response, and you are seeing a very serious manifestations of eczema, then you have to consider underlying some other disease also. So these are the important differential diagnosis. I usually remember this by remembering my own teachers. For example, if I see immunodeficiency, I will remember Geeta madam, viscot altitude hyper IgE madam. Or it can be immunological, then I will remember my Geeta P madam, dermatomyositis, dermatitis herpetiformis. Or it can be metabolic, or it can be Ajit Shah's topic of malignancy. It can be histiocytosis or T-cell lymphoma. Or it can be, even without any teachers, it can be infections. We should remember scabies is one of the most common conditions which will mimic as atopic dermatitis. Scabies may, if you are not treating at the right time, it may lead a chronic course and we will get confused with that. So, when should you think of alternative diagnosis? When the disease is unusually severe or persistent, when there is poor response to optimal therapy, when there are severe and recurrent infections and systemic manifestations of unrelated to atopic dermatitis are there, we have to think of alternative diagnosis. Now coming to the treatment, I'm directly coming to treatment. I'm not going into the other details because this is a more practically oriented talk. So treatment, it has two parts. It is non-pharmacological and pharmacological. What are the non-pharmacological things? Non-pharmacological things includes all these things. Education of the parents, bathing, moisturizers, avoiding the triggers, all these are important. Considering the parent and patient education, this is the most important part of a treatment of atopic dermatitis. Not only atopic dermatitis, all allergy cases. And this is the point which is often ignored by the doctors. So nowadays we call counseling as a therapeutic patient education. It is considered as a part of the treatment. So in this case, we have to emphasize the chronic nature of the disease. You should tell them that this is a disease which will take time, it will take at least 5 to 10 years, and also about the relapses. Even though you are getting control, there is a chance that this child will relapse when a trigger occurs. That is very important. Now about avoiding the triggers. So avoiding the triggers, we have to take care of all the allergens or other irritants which are aggravating the condition. So what are things we are supposed to do? Not only for atopic dermatitis, all allergic diseases, house dust mite is an important allergen which can be prevented by an alternate day, at least an alternate day, wet mopping. Wet mopping is what is required. You can do vacuuming also. There should not be anybody in the house who is using tobacco or any tobacco products. There should not be any rugs in the bedroom which will lead to the increased occurrence of the house dust mite. Pets, it is also important thing. Some children will be very much allergic to cat allergens as well as dog allergens. So at least we have to take care that these dogs or cats are not indoor. We have to keep them outdoor. What about clothing? Clothing, the recommendation is that always use cotton clothes. And if you are so much particular that cotton clothes won't be looking beautiful. So if the child is very much particular to wear some synthetic dress, take care, make sure that this child is wearing some cotton dress inside, or keep some lining of cotton dress inside to the normal thing. Avoid wool. Wool is a material which is very much irritative to the atopic dermatitis skin, and avoid woolen clothes. Also avoid tight fitting dresses. What about bathing? What is the recommendation for the Indian Dermatology Association is you have to, an atopic dermatitis patient have to take a bath at least once in a day. Once in a day they should take, not only for atopic, everybody have to take a bath once in a day. And you have to use lukewarm water, not cold water or not hot water. This should be a lukewarm water. And the recommended time is 5 to 10 minutes, preferably daytime. Avoid frequent and lengthy bathing. That is a very important thing we have to remember. We have a feeling that this is lack of moisturization, so make the child take bath so many times, that won't be helping. Avoid frequent and lengthy bathing. What about using soap? Soap, the recommendation is that you have to use minimum soap. Minimum soap means if the child is having atopic dermatitis, ask him to use soap only in the flexural areas, axilla, retroauricular area, like that, not or the whole of the body. Clean thoroughly but gently. Always avoid strong scrubbing and rubbing, and avoid perfumed soaps. That is very difficult in our, even though we say that avoid perfumed soap, it is not easy to get a non-perfumed soap. So another, and you can see the picture above. What is the problem in using a soap? The usual soaps will be having a alkaline pH. And for the best activity of the skin, for the healthy skin, we need a mildly acidic pH, that is around 5.5. Our soaps there will make us pH to around 9. So you have to use a neutral or less acidic, less alkaline soap. So there is something called as Syndet. This is a alternative to for soap. It is nothing but synthetic detergents. It is very costly, and the importance is that it will be having neutral to low pH. It may be hypoallergenic and non-irritant, but it is very costly. What about food? This is one thing that is usually attributed to atopic dermatitis. Definitely, there are certain food allergens which contribute to eczema. The most important ones are egg, milk, peanut, seafood, etc. But do we need an empirical food restriction? No. Empirical food restriction is not recommended in patients of atopic dermatitis. The food should be restricted based only on clinical experience and food allergy tests. That means that if this patient is having an concomitant food allergy which is tested by a doctor and found positive, only then you have to restrict. There is no recommendation to empirically restrict all foods to the patient. That may lead to unnecessary malnutrition. Now coming to the management proper. The management of atopic dermatitis, it is said to be as reactive management and proactive approach. So what does it mean? Reactive management means targeting the acute flares with short-term management. And proactive approach means maintenance. That is a long-term maintenance therapy. Both of this has to be combined to form a good management. So in simple terms, we can say mild disease, moderate disease, more severe disease. How will you treat? Mild disease means use of emollients continuously and topical steroids intermittently for flares. If there is a moderate disease, emollients has to be definitely used, but proactive management with anti-inflammatory drugs. What is proactive management? Maintenance. I will come into the details later. And more severe and refractory cases only, we need to use systemic drugs and phototherapy like that. We should understand that mild and moderate form, at least in India, it forms around 90% of cases of atopic dermatitis. Only around 10% cases will become severe. In Kerala, in our climate, it is even less. So we need not have to worry much about the complicated treatment. We can manage most of the cases using emollients and topical steroids. Now coming to the emollients or moisturizers. So what is the most important aspect of important point in treating atopic dermatitis is the regular use of moisturizer. That is the core of the management. Moisturizer should be part of all stages. Let it be mild, moderate or severe. How does it, what are the things it will do? It replaces the water loss from skin, it lubricates the skin, reduce the scaling and seal the stratum corneum. So there are different vehicles available, moisturizers. It can be a cream, ointments, gels, lotions like that. So the representatives of the pharma will be coming and telling that this cream, ointment, gel, why don't, and many a times this medical store people will be asking, this cream is not available, can I prescribe any ointment instead? So we have to keep this practical point in mind. Cream, ointment, gel, lotion, all are different things. They vary in their strength and action also. So what are creams? Creams are emulsions of continuous water with suspended oil. That means that the oil content is less. It is not greasy. It is well tolerated. So you have to use a cream only in the face. Ointments are emulsions of oil with suspended water. Means the oil content is more, it is more greasier. You cannot use it in the other body part, but at the time of sleeping and all, you can use it in the palms and soles. Ointments are preferred for hard areas and thickened lesions. And gels are not usually advised in pediatrics. Lotions, it is more of water, higher percentage of water relative to oil. and it is powder in water. It can be used for large surface areas, but one problem is that it will the water will get dried up and it may aggravate the cirrhosis. So this is an important point. The regular use of moisturizer has short and long-term steroid-sparing effects and reduces the frequency of acute episodes. Or emollients increase the benefit obtained from topical corticosteroid therapy. So how to use this? Moisturizer should be used at least twice a day and should be more frequently used during acute flares. So when to use it? It has to be used at least twice, and during acute flares, it can be used up to 4 to 6 times. It has to be used within 3 minutes after bath while the skin is still moist. And when you choose a moisturizer, make sure that perfumes and herbal extracts are not present in that. It may itself act as a irritant. So how will you classify a moisturizer? There are 3 different types of moisturizers. One is occlusive, humectant, and emollient. Humectant means it acts by drawing water from the environment as well as from the deeper dermis. Occlusive means it forms an occlusive coating. So whichever this type of moisturizer you're using, you make sure that the patient is very much compliant to that. Scientifically speaking, ceramide-based moisturizers are both best for atopic dermatitis, but they are very costly. Cost is very important. Even liquid paraffin or our virgin coconut oil can act as a good moisturizer. If the patient cannot afford the costly things, we can use these counterparts. Now about the second drug, it is the topical corticosteroid. Corticosteroid is the cornerstone of the anti-inflammatory therapy in atopic dermatitis. And which corticosteroid, when to use it, and how to choose it, and how long? These 4 questions are very important when we are starting a corticosteroid. Which steroid, when to start, how to choose, and how long to continue. So it depends upon the severity, site of the lesion, and age of the patient. So this is a classification of the potency of the steroid, starting from the super potent ones. The group 1 is super potent. It includes clobetasol, beclomethasone, etc. Please do not see the brand names inside because it is from a American book, so these drugs won't be available here. So group 1 is super potent, and the potency decreases to group 7, which is the least potent. So which are the drugs we can use in pediatrics? In pediatrics, we can use from group 4 only. We can start from group 4 only. We have never used clobetasol propionate or betamethasone dipropionate or mometasone furoate ointment in pediatrics. You can use mometasone cream. From group 4 onwards, you can safely use. So you don't confuse yourself with all the names of the steroid classes, potency, etc. You just remember this slide. Which are the steroids that can be used safely in children? In infants, we can use only hydrocortisone, desonate, and fluticasone. Hydrocortisone, desonate, and fluticasone, least potent ones. In children, we can use these. Other children, we can use all these along with mometasone cream and betamethasone cream. Mometasone cream only after 2 years. Always take care that when you are applying cream over the face, you can use only either hydrocortisone or desonate. No other creams can be used. How much? This is also very important thing. We will just write the prescription and tell apply this. Is that enough or not? That is a question. So we have to tell them clearly how much should be taken. So it is not taken in grams or milligrams. It is taken in a practical manner, what is called as the fingertip unit. It is defined as the amount of cream or ointment expressed from a tube applied from the distal skin crease to the tip of index finger of an hand. As you can see in this picture, is that amount of cream or ointment which is taken from a 5 millimeter diameter nozzle. It is a standard size nozzle for all creams and ointments. So that amount of cream or ointment you can apply to 1 fingertip unit is enough to treat an area of skin twice the size of the flat of an adult hand with fingers together. Just like this. This much size you can use using 1 fingertip unit. Remember, the fingertip unit is based upon adult finger and adult hand, not on the patient's finger. How long to continue? That is also an important question. Once you have started the steroid cream, how long to continue? It can be used for 2 weeks. 2 weeks and then review. It is not advisable to use it after 2 weeks. And there is an exception. Hydrocortisone desinate being a very weak potent steroid, we can use it for up to 4 weeks. So after 2 weeks, you have to definitely review this patient. Then just like in asthma, where you do the step down and step up treatment, here also there is a stepping down. If the lesion has healed and completely, then you need not continue. But still, if there is an active lesion, you have to continue the steroid after stepping down. How will you step down? Suppose you have started on Desonide. After 2 weeks, the child is coming, lesions are still active. Then what you can do is that you can change to a less potent steroid. That is, you can change to hydrocortisone. Or if you have started on mometasone cream, after 2 weeks the child is coming, you can then change to Desonide or hydrocortisone. Just like that, you have to step down. Now, another drug which is used, which is we can sell as a topical calcineurin inhibitor. It is a steroid-sparing drug. It is approved since 2002 for anti-inflammatory therapy in atopic dermatitis. But I should say in pediatrics, we are very rarely using it. This is what I feel. But it can be used. Many of the doctors are not using topical calcineurin inhibitors. As I said already, when you are stepping down, you can either step down to a less potent steroid, or another option is that you can step down to a topical calcineurin inhibitor also. So what are the topical calcineurin inhibitors which are recommended to be used in children? We have 2 drugs. One is tacrolimus and second one is pimecrolimus. Tacrolimus is for moderate to severe atopic dermatitis, and in the childhood age group, the recommended percentage is 0.03%. Always take care that when you are prescribing, you have to write the percentage clearly, because 0.1%, 0.03%, both are available with the same name sometimes. So if you are using this 0.1% in a 3-year-old child, it will be a higher dose. That is not required. About pimecrolimus, it is 1% ointment. It is recommended for mild to moderate atopic dermatitis in more than 2 years. So this calcineurin inhibitors, both of these are recommended only after the age of 2 years. They are very safe. The most common side effect being skin burning. So whenever you are starting after 1 or 2 days, there is a chance that the patient will come back and tell you that there is a skin burning at the site of application. But you have to tell that it usually resolves by itself after 1 to 2 weeks. So they do not increase the risk of bacterial infection. And previously, we used to say there is a malignancy risk, but now there is more than enough evidence that there is no convincing evidence to say that it is associated with an increased malignancy risk. And one important point is that tacrolimus ointment cannot be applied to erosive or ulcerative surfaces. That is important. There is another therapy called as the wet wrap therapy. So we have discussed, so far we have discussed the non-pharmacological methods and 3 drugs. One is moisturizer, second one is topical corticosteroid, and third one is topical calcineurin inhibitors. So in severe cases, along with these drugs, you can use this therapy, wet wrap therapy. The first step is to apply topical agents, which is for severe cases only. First step is to apply the topical agents to lesion. Next, the skin is covered with a wet inner layer of tubular bandage, followed by a dry outer layer. And it can be maintained from several hours to day at a time. And wet wrap theory with diluted corticosteroids or emollient with moderate to severe atopic dermatitis without risk of infection can be used for quick reduction of atopic dermatitis severity. So in this recommendation itself, you can there is one condition, without risk of infection. So wet wrap therapy, if you are using, you have to advise the patient to do it very in a very hygienic manner. Otherwise, there is a chance of the baby developing folliculitis. So it is recommended provided there is no risk of infection. Now, coming to the next drug, antihistamines. This is the most misused drug in atopic dermatitis. So will they help antihistamines? Will they really help in atopic dermatitis? We have to keep in mind that histamine is only one among the chemotactic mediators which lead to itching. There are a lot of other chemicals in atopic dermatitis causing itching. So using antihistamine alone won't always help. So what is the recommendation? Here we are recommending sedative antihistamines. So rather than the antihistaminic part, the sedation is used. Sedative antihistamines can be used in small kids. For school-going age, we can use a non-sedating antihistamine in daytime and a sedative antihistamine at night. Hydroxyzine and cetirizine and levocetirizine are the most commonly used drugs. So this is important point. Use of antihistamines alone without combination with anti-inflammatory topical drugs is not recommended. The use of antihistamine is an adjuvant therapy to anti-inflammatory topical therapy for atopic dermatitis. So this is a summary of what I have told. So the first line treatment in a mild to moderate atopic dermatitis, you can use moisturizers, emollients, and topical corticosteroids with or without topical calcineurin inhibitors. And when it becomes severe, you can continue the same along with a short course of oral steroid. I will come into the details later. So coming to the third part, when will you give systemic therapy? So far we have discussed about the non-pharmacological treatment, moisturizers, steroids, and topical calcium. All these were topical. Now, when will you start a systemic therapy? When there is a severe disease with a degree and extent, and when there is a severe impact on the quality of life, we have to consider a systemic therapy. These are the options we have: systemic corticosteroid, cyclosporin, methotrexate, phototherapy, biologicals, and some complicated agents like azathioprine and mycophenolate. It is advised in adults only. So, as I have already told, up to 90% of cases of atopic dermatitis that we see as pediatricians will be mild or moderate only. Severe disease will be less than around 10% only. So this is the stage where we have to think of referring the patient to a dermatologist or to somebody who is dealing with more of allergy cases. So these are the options. And about systemic corticosteroids, is rarely indicated in the treatment of chronic atopic dermatitis. There will be dramatic clinical improvement, but we have to keep this in mind. After this clinical improvement, there is a chance of severe rebound flare. The dosage advised is 0.5 milligram per kg per day, and you can use it as a short course for. There is no specific recommendation to how long, so we can use it for a short period only, and then we have to taper the dosage and begin intensive. When you are tapering, we have to make sure that we are continuing the intensified skin care with the moisturizers and the topical corticosteroid in order to prevent the rebound flaring. That is about systemic corticosteroid. Another important drug is rarely used by pediatricians, but dermatologists can use this, is cyclosporin. It is a potent immunosuppressive drug. It acts primarily on T cells by suppressing cytokine gene transcription. So it has got some serious adverse effects. So be very careful when you are using this. It can lead to nephrotoxicity, hypertension. So after 2 to 3 weeks, you have to do a urea creatinine level, as well as we have to regularly monitor the BP of the patient, as hypertension is one adverse effect. Phototherapy, it is effective but not available in all places. It can be one of the useful treatment. In the acute phase, we can use the ultraviolet A1, and narrowband ultraviolet B can be used in the chronic phase. The phototherapy machine is very costly, and not all hospitals can purchase this. It costs around 5 to 10 lakhs. About immunotherapy, even though there are in the textbook, in the articles on immunotherapy, it is written that it will be effective and it can be considered, but majority of doctors in Indian scenario, majority of doctors are not using immunotherapy as an option for atopic dermatitis. But there are literature supporting the use of immunotherapy, especially when the allergen is single allergen like house dust mite. Immunotherapy can be tried. Now coming to the last few slides about the adjuvant therapies. What about probiotics? Probiotics, Lactobacillus alone or Lactobacillus with Bifidobacterium, it has a protective role in atopic dermatitis upon administration in the pre and postnatal periods. But when you are giving in an infant, it won't be having any effect. If you are giving in the pre and postnatal periods in the mother, it has got some effect. Vitamin D, as you know, it is advised as a panacea for all illness. So here also it is having doubtful this. So what we are expected to do in any allergy case is that you can do a vitamin D level, and if the vitamin D level is low, you can treat the levels rather than there is no specific recommendation to give routinely vitamin D in all cases of atopic dermatitis. Alitretinoin is a retinol derivative, and it is used in the treatment of chronic hyperkeratotic atopic hand eczema. So that is about the diagnosis and management of atopic dermatitis. So the take-home messages are: atopic dermatitis is the most common chronic relapsing skin condition. It is the entry point of allergy march. So the importance is that we need to prevent it at the point of atopic dermatitis so that we can prevent allergic rhinitis and asthma. Moisturizers from the mainstay of management. Topical steroids are the most important anti-inflammatory agents used in atopic dermatitis. Topical calcineurin inhibitors is a very useful drug along with corticosteroids. Patient and parent education is extremely important in management, and we have to keep in mind severe atopic dermatitis is very, very rare. Majority of cases can be effectively managed by pediatricians alone. There is no need to refer all cases of atopic dermatitis directly to a dermatologist. We can very well manage. So that is about my presentation. Once again, thank IAP Kozhikode for giving this wonderful opportunity to share this knowledge with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Krishna Mohan, for an excellent and wonderful academic talk on atopic dermatitis and expertise in the pediatric dermatology aspects. So it's an excellent talk, including basics to what are the triggering factors, how will you manage with the topical steroid, and how you can have to do systemic measurement also. So we'll go to some of the points we can discuss. So some of the queries are come in the chat box. One query to Dr. Krishna Mohan.
Yes,
so
sir.
can you stop the slide sharing?
Okay,
slide
sir.
sharing.
Okay, sir.
So commonly one of the problem coming is scenario there. Usually there will be atopic dermatitis. Usually older age group, there will be superadded infection will be there. So the two aspects you have to highlight is one is superadded bacterial infection and superadded fungal infections. So when you consider the antibacterial aspect in atopic dermatitis, antifungal medication in case of atopic dermatitis. That is one of the chat box question by Dr. Hariumar from Kottayam.
Okay, sir. So, and as I already told, this bacterial, fungal, can you hear, sir?
Yeah.
Okay. As I already told, in atopic dermatitis, the bacterial, fungal, as well as viral infections will be presenting in a more severe form, more extensive form. So the treatment part, there is no specific difference, especially for atopic dermatitis. Just like you treat a case of bacterial skin infection, you can continue the treatment. Some recommendations which is made by the Indian Dermatology Society is that you are not. It is not good to use the combination drugs. If you are using a topical antibacterial, use it separately along with the moisturizer and steroid. Better not to use the combination. And if you require a systemic antibiotic, at the stage at which you require, you can start using that also. So antifungal also the same applies. That is, there is no need to, a special drug is not required. Just like you manage other fungal and bacterial infection, you can continue managing that.
Dr. Jose,
So, yeah.
Dr. Ramesh.
Ramesh, sir.
What we have observed is we rarely see fungal infections in atopic, very, very severe, but because of the scratching and other things, bacterial infections are occasionally seen, and which we may have to apply some antibiotic ointments at a separate time, not as a mixture, as a mix. They don't advise combinations.
So another question in the chat box is already Dr. Krishna Mohan mentioned regarding the probiotics and all. So there one question comes there whether there is any probiotics in antenatal period, any role of prevention in
that is what I told, sir. Probiotics, suppose you are giving to an infant who has developed an atopic dermatitis, there is no use. But when you are giving it in the prenatal and postnatal period, prenatal means the baby will get some protection. Postnatal means through the breast milk and like that. So if you are giving there is no recommendation to give a probiotic to a baby to prevent getting. The scenario is like this. When the first child is having severe atopic dermatitis, when the next pregnancy comes, they will think of giving some preventive measures so that the child won't get this disease. So if you are giving the mother the treatment in the antenatal period, you can protect the next baby. That is what is true.
So Ashraf sir, any questions?
I got a query.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Dr. Ramesh asked regarding the antibiotic ointments. Krishna Mohan,
Yes, sir.
regarding antibiotic ointments
Yeah,
when a bacterial infection is suspected.
Yeah, we can use any antibiotic ointment just like mupirocin is good, and soframycin. Any ointment can use, just like we treat other bacterial infections we can use.
Ramesh?
Krishna Mohan, you suggested that in the allergic march, if you
Yes,
treat atopic dermatitis appropriately, do you think will it alter the allergic march? Will it alter the further the incidence of allergic?
Yeah, it will definitely alter, sir. Because allergic march itself means that why does it occur? First, atopic dermatitis occurs first because of the exposure through the skin. It is the first gateway. So if it is prevented properly, the sensitization to the allergens will be less, and so the chance of developing allergic rhinitis and asthma will definitely come down.
Yes,
That is what the literature is saying. I am not sure about it.
I am not. Okay, fine.
Krishna Mohan, one more thing is that we are the treatment part we are discussed normally regarding the emollient and the topical steroid. So in practical aspect, there are some questions in the chat box. In the practical aspect, whether the emollient and the topical steroid can be applied simultaneously, or there is a gap between the emollient. Or
I will tell. So for the moisturizer or emollient, we have to apply it within 3 minutes. 3 minutes of bath you have to apply, and you have to wait for 15 to 20 minutes. Only after that you apply the topical steroid. Then it will have a better penetration. So you are not supposed to apply both of them together. This is one point I missed to say, because when you are using a topical steroid as well as a moisturizer, if you just tell them, they will apply it together. They will mix it and apply. So that it is not like that. You have to make the child use the moisturizer first within 3 minutes, wait for 15 to 30 minutes, then only you apply the steroid.
So in regarding atopic dermatitis, also one of the preventive aspect, all the allergy textbooks mentioned that exclusive breastfeeding is only preventive aspect.
Thank you for pointing out that exclusive breastfeeding is protective. Normal vaginal delivery is protective. LSCS may predispose to atopic dermatitis. These two things are
also.
Yes, sir. Thank you for mentioning.
Thank you, Krishna Mohan, for that nice talk, and especially stressing on the non-pharmacological aspects also. You said about regarding the soaps, alkaline soap and acidic soap, which are the alkaline soaps commercially available. What about the baby soap? Because most of the mother will tell, we are using only baby soap.
Actually, I am not supposed
acidic soap or acidic or alkaline soap?
Actually, I am not supposed to tell any brand names, but I can say the normal soaps that we are commonly using are alkaline. It is having a pH of around 9 to 10 like that. So
what about the baby soap?
Baby soap
is more acidic or alkaline?
It is mildly acidic. So it is neutral pH is, more acidic. Neutral pH is 7, so it comes around 5.5 to 6.
So it is better to avoid baby soap.
No, the best pH for the skin protection is around 4.5 to 6. In between 4.5 to 6. So slightly acidic soap is better
Ramesh want to say something.
Point.
Ramesh.
We
Yeah,
are
yeah.
talking about the skin pH. It's not the pH, neutral pH as far as skin is
Yes.
concerned, 5.6. Or
5.5,
pH
yeah.
less than 5.6 is the best one for a child, something around 4.5 to 5.6. And what we see usually is the detergent soaps, which are more contain more surfactants, and they are mainly alkaline. They are the one which produces a lot of what do you say, our foams and the foaming soaps. So we don't have to
Geeta
use
want to
such.
say something.
Can I say
Come on.
something? Yeah.
Geeta, Geeta.
Madam.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Very happy to hear Krishna Mohan, our student. He has gone on so well to deal with allergy and become a allergic specialist. It's a new thing. And it was very, the communication was really good. We talk about usual ABCs of communication: attractiveness, brevity, and clarity. So it's only one C usually, but I think you can say he has got 3 Cs. It was clear, concise, and crisp. And actually, dermatology is one area of training which is neglected in our curriculum, in our postgraduate curriculum. Not enough of dermatology is taught to our postgraduates, especially the theory. And especially in this COVID season and beyond, you don't want to treat the asthma and send atopic dermatitis to a dermatologist. So this is a really need of the hour and very well. And he really selected which points he wanted to drive home. He didn't try and cover the whole atopic dermatitis, which is really vast. So very well done, and really the need of the hour.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Mohan, that was well done. Just a doubt about the body washes that are available compared to the soaps. You mentioned about the alcohol. What will be the status of the body washes?
Body wash, the recommendation, they have clearly mentioned it as in one sentence. There is no difference between a soap, whether it is a solid or liquid. So if you are using only difference is the price.
So are they alkaline or acidic, as you have been mentioning?
Just like, sir, if you are using Synthol soap, Synthol liquid soap, or Synthol, that is the same. They have only made it in the liquid form.
No, I'm not talking about liquid soap.
Until and unless they are telling that there is some, it is specifically made for some disease, it is almost one and the same.
Okay, the next thing which I would like to ask is regarding the hygiene hypothesis. The people say that if you are, that may be responsible for an increased atopic dermatitis and asthma later on. So,
okay, hygiene hypothesis is one hypothesis which everybody is telling to avoid baths. If you are not interested in taking bath, you can tell that it is a hygiene hypothesis. But hygiene hypothesis is not simply about hygiene alone. The name itself, it is a misnomer. I think it has changed now. It is basically about the infections. So in a world where there are no infection, the only disease which will be remaining will be allergy. That was what was happening in many of the Western countries like US and UK. The infection rate was, previously it was very, very less, and allergy was dreadful. If you have visited, you would have seen, Ramesh sir will be knowing, you have visited, you would have seen food allergy shops. Just for food allergy, there will be shop, everything like that. So hygiene hypothesis is basically that in an environment where you are not getting an infection, your microbial exposure is less, there is a chance of getting more and more allergic diseases. It is not about hygiene alone, but that hypothesis is well taken, and it means that if you are exposing the child in the early life to certain allergens, he may get a protection. For example, if suppose the child is not having in the early introduction of a pet, if he is not having an allergy, if he is in the neonatal period, if he was exposed to that, there is a chance of getting him protected. Just like immunotherapy, he is getting protected that by nature itself.
and thank you. And you had mentioned about regarding the use of probiotics in antenatal period.
Yes,
now,
sir.
how long and when, first trimester, second trimester, third trimester, or how long will you give it?
Sorry, sir, I have to refer that. I don't exactly know that.
Okay, Krishna, thank you. That was an excellent talk. The need of the hour.
It's like folic acid in neural tube defect.
Yeah. It is mentioned only as prenatal. Exact period is not given.
Antenatal is wedding issue.
Yeah, antenatal.
So, Kumar sir, sir.
Krishna Mohan, one more question. Krishna Mohan,
Please
am I audible?
Yeah. Dr. Harikumar, continue.
See, I just want to
You're
know
audible.
regarding bathing of baby or bathing of child. So, what do you prefer? In the frequent bathing or daily bath? And cold water or lukewarm water?
That I have mentioned already.
This
You have
lukewarm water,
you have
daily
to
once.
take daily once, and you have to use a lukewarm water which is not too hot or not too cold, just like that. Daily once.
I sir. Comment on. Sir.
Mute on, sir.
Sir, unmute sir. Sir, unmute sir.
രഞ്ജിത്ത് അജിത്ത് unmute ചെയ്യ്.
KM.
പറഞ്ഞോ അജിത്ത്.
KM, nice talk.
Thank you, sir.
ഗീത പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ വളരെ ക്രിസ്പ് ആയിരുന്നു. I am very happy to see our Joseph from Alapi. Anyway, അപ്പോൾ ഇത് എന്റെ ഡൗട്ട് തന്നെ ഈ ടീനേജേഴ്സിന് അറ്റോപിക് ഡെർമറ്റൈറ്റിസ് if they come, they may have depression also. They may have, so like you may, if Krishnamar is here, I think you may have to give some antidepressants which might be also helpful in atopic dermatitis sometimes. Or especially adults and girls, they have atopic dermatitis. They may have any role for any monoclonal antibodies came.
Monoclonal antibodies, those which have been tried, one is omalizumab. Omalizumab have been tried around 10-15 years back, but it has not been still not very effective. But recently what has been introduced is a monoclonal antibody called the dupilumab. Dupilumab is interleukin-4 antagonist. It has been tried, but still not freely available in India. You can purchase it, you can get it from US or UK and use. It is very costly. That single injection will cost around 65,000 rupees. Dupilumab.
Okay. It's not available in India.
It's not, as such, it is not available. Nobody is using that, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Just
nice
thank you.
talk.
Ranjit, please unmute Mukesh from Trichur. He is a regular attendee of our Zoom meetings. Mukesh, for your comments. Ranjit, please unmute.
Okay.
Mukesh.
Yeah, Mukesh. Parnam. Yeah, പറഞ്ഞോളൂ.
As Geeta madam പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ തന്നെ it was കൃഷ്ണമോഹൻ എങ്ങനെയാണ് പറയേണ്ടത് അറിയില്ല. It's a very crisp and it's very nice to hear, and for the general pediatricians it's very nice. Thank you sir for inviting me.
Thank you.
Bala.
CK sir also want to make a comment. Please unmute Bala as well as CK sir. Santosh from Talasheri, our past president. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Bala Padna.
Okay, it was a pleasure to hear from KM, our upcoming national speaker, about atopic dermatitis. So I would like to ask 3 questions to KM and all the audience here. One is there any pediatrician doing allergic testing in our state? Second is your experience in using tacrolimus, that is calcitonin inhibitors, in atopic dermatitis. And third question, anybody has used beyond the first line, that is second line, third line, as you said?
Allergy testing, previously I was doing allergy skin testing. I was doing regularly, but once I found that it is taking a lot of time. For a single patient, it will take 15 to 20 minutes. I stopped it, and most of the ENT centers here are doing it. So what if I want to get it done, I will just refer them for that. Now I am not doing, but many of the pediatricians in Trivandrum, many people are doing.
Pediatrician.
Allergy testing, you mean the skin testing and
skin testing.
Yeah. There is nothing difficult in doing that. Only thing is that you have to procure the allergens, and then you can start. So
you should have adrenal everything, no?
It is very, very unlikely to get a anaphylaxis after giving it is a prick test. Very small amount of drug. It is only just pricking.
Should we have all the resuscitation?
Yes, it is nice that you should have only in a very good setup. At least you should have atlagen and resuscitative measures.
Can you do at home?
It is not usually advised to do at home. It is in a lab setup only. Second question is tacrolimus and pimecrolimus. I have used it only in the stage of stepping down of steroids. You can use it. It is a very safe drug, and the only thing, as I have already mentioned, it will be having itching for 5 to 6 days. then it will be okay. But there is we can continue it for 2 to 4 weeks, and then we can step down. But even without TCA, that is a topical calcineurin inhibitor, only with moisturizer and steroid itself we can manage most of the cases. There is very rarely does I had to use this. Last question I forgot, sir.
Experience in second line and third line.
Second line, to be honest, I have not used the cyclosporin or methotrexate is another one I have not used. Even the dermatologist, when I asked them, many of them have not used. They have, some of them have tried methotrexate, but cyclosporin is costly also, so many of them have not used.
I think phototherapies are using the
Phototherapy, it is in Calicut scenario, only in one medical college Calicut it is available, not even in MIMS or BMH it is available. It is costly around 11-12 lakhs. So if you are using the whole body machine, there are some other variants which can be used only for the hand and feet. It is comes around 4 to 5 lakhs. But in medical college it is available, and I don't have any experience with phototherapy.
Anybody else has used tacrolimus?
That is what I mentioned when I talked about
No,
it.
no, I am asking the other
No,
audience.
no, because it is very underused drug. We can use it because the situation is that when the bystander is having steroid phobia, whenever we write this, the patient will say, "This is a steroid on a doctor." So if there is having steroid phobia, we can use tacrolimus.
Only in the tapering stage. Okay.
Yeah.
Main limitation is it cannot be used below 2 years.
Costly, no?
Children
Very
It
costly.
cannot be used below 2 years, and nowadays the recent studies have coming that it can be used safely from 3 months of age, but recommendations wise it has not come out. And one thing is that in excoriative and infected lesions you cannot use.
CK sir.
CK sir, unmute.
Ranjit? Okay,
Yes,
sir.
Krishna, it's a pleasure to hear you this evening.
Thank you,
Very
sir.
nice talk. Emphasizing specifically the use of steroids and the non-therapeutic agents. But I have a few questions to you. Now, most of the babies coming to you with atopic dermatitis, they have a constant wearing habit of napkins. That's number one. The second point we come across is closet dermatitis. These are the two problems where you have to bang your head on this child, the patient, and take the help of dermatologists and then manage them. That is one thing. Then you are rightly pointed out once they grow that are asthma related thing. Family history is very important, and testing for allergens is not that, as you said, not that practical. There are so many things that you can do, but most of the time you don't carry out. You take the help of the dermatologist because I was to have Professor Subodhan Hospital, so there is no problem in sorting it out. And yeah. Anyway, that's a very nice talk to you. Now, one word about Krishnamar. Krishnamar, that talk was very nice, and you have predicted the problem of using children for employment in the offing. One problem is this can be sorted out. I think Ashraf was in that field earlier. You should ensure the children attend the schools. It's the school drops out that leads to this. We found out why not among the tribal people. They shift one school to the school, from a primary school to the secondary school, therefore. Or then they are made use of in the estates and coffee grower, those things they are made use of. They add to the income of the family. So one should ensure, just like all those things are happening, then only these children can go to school and then learn. So it's a dropout, and then they go for employment. Thank you very much for the nice talk, Krishna Mohan and Krishna.
Thank you. Krishna Mohan, any comments?
Another comment from
Just continue.
Another query in the chat box is whether in UC lesions, whether it can use in UC lesions of atopic dermatitis.
UC lesion?
Of atopic dermatitis.
You can, sir, it's not clear. You can use
excoriative and UC lesion of in atopic dermatitis, whether it can use emollients.
Yes, emollients can be used. emollients can be used, and you can use steroid also. But in such UC lesions, always make sure that you are using a low potent steroid, because the excoriated skin, the absorption will be more.
Excoriating,
And
what about the
cream should be
powder
used.
form or any powder form?
Powder form is not replaced. Creams only.
And in UC lesions, you have to use creams, no? Okay.
Creams. Ointments you cannot. Ointments are more powerful, so it is risky to use ointments.
Only in dry area. I would like to congratulate Krishnomar sir also for the message. I forgot to add. Krishnomar sir, one doubt. Our IAP World Child Labor Day is on April 30th. Actually, 12th is International Child Labor Day. Which day has to be followed? Those Child Labor Day, IAP Child Labor Day is 30th April, and International Labor Day is 12th May.
IAP Labor Day follow
അങ്ങനല്ല, ഇന്റർനാഷണൽ ഡേയിലേക്ക് IAP ഡേ പോവല്ലേ വേണ്ടത്?
അല്ല ശരിക്കും അത് പറഞ്ഞാൽ അങ്ങനെയാണ് പോകേണ്ടത്. പക്ഷെ IAP നാഷണൽ IAP ഒരു ഡേ പ്രഖ്യാപിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ അതല്ല നമുക്ക് ഫോളോ ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റും. ചില കാര്യത്തിൽ ചില കൺഫ്യൂഷൻ അങ്ങനെയുണ്ട്. വേൾഡിന്റെ
ഇമ്മ്യൂണൈസേഷൻ, ആന്റിബയോട്ടിക്
ഈ വർഷം അങ്ങനെ പോകാം, പക്ഷെ അടുത്ത വർഷം അത് ചേഞ്ച് ചെയ്യുന്നതിനെ പറ്റി ആലോചിച്ചൂടെ?
തീർച്ചയായിട്ടും
IAP പറയണം.
സെൻട്രൽ
IAP should be discussed in the central IAP.
അത് നോട്ട് ചെയ്തിട്ട് അടുത്ത ഈ ഒരു IEB മീറ്റിംഗിൽ അത് പോയിന്റ് ചെയ്ത് പറഞ്ഞാൽ മതി, നമുക്ക് പറയാം, റേസ് ചെയ്യാം ഇഷ്യൂ.
Same with antibiotic and immunization.
Antibiotic immunization also same issue.
ഡോക്ടർ സന്തോഷ് പോയി തോന്നുന്നു, നമുക്ക് വൈൻഡപ്പ് ചെയ്യാൻ തോന്നുന്നു അല്ലേ?
Ashraf, I have a doubt. Is Ajit speaking from Ladakh?
Let us wind up. അതിന്റെ മുമ്പ് കൃഷ്ണ, there is a very common local remedy, അതായത് കോക്കനട്ട് കേക്ക് പിണ്ണാക്ക് അപ്ലൈ ചെയ്യുന്നത്. What is your comment or opinion regarding that?
Coconut cake പിണ്ണാക്ക്,
അതായത് നമ്മള് വെളിച്ചെണ്ണ ആട്ടുന്ന മില്ലിൽ നിന്ന് കിട്ടുന്ന ആ എക്സ്ട്രാക്ട് commonly used in atopic dermatitis, especially in Malabar area. What is your comment about that?
One problem is that it may act as a trigger. It just acts like a trigger, scratching act. So it is not advised. What is advised is coconut oil, which is this tender coconut oil, or that can be used. That is a
before bath or after bath?
After bath. No, before bath only. Before bath. Only, because it is a very oily thing, so we cannot use it like a normal moisturizer. Another problem is that ants also will come.
That is nice.
Thank you, Krishna Mohan.
Yes, sir.
Jos, wind up here, Jos.
Okay, then nice talk.
Thank you, Dr. Jos, for being with us. Krishna Mohan, it was a very practically oriented, very useful talk for practicing pediatrician. Now I invite Dr. Nihas for a vote of thanks.
വിബ്ജോർ കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് പിന്നെ എന്ത് ചെയ്യും നിങ്ങള്? റെയിൻബോയുടെ ബാക്കി ഇനി എന്ത് ചെയ്യും? കോവിഡ് ഇങ്ങനെ കണ്ടിന്യൂ ചെയ്യണമെങ്കിൽ
പറഞ്ഞറിയിക്കേണ്ടെന്നാണ്
എനിക്കൊന്ന് 2017 ആക്ഷൻ പ്ലാൻ ബ്രാഞ്ച് ലെവൽ എടുത്ത് അങ്ങ് എപ്പിഡമിക് ആക്കി, എപ്പിഡമിക് ഓഫ് CME ആക്കി.
You will see that from July 6th onwards.
Nice to see you all Nihas, Ranjit, and all the Shaitam sir, all seeing in a single forum. Hari and Mukesh. Harikumar is a permanent viewer of IAP Kozhikode. I think IAP Mukesh അവരെല്ലാവരും കോഴിക്കോടേക്ക് മാറാനുള്ള പരിപാടിയാണെന്ന് തോന്നുന്നു. ഇവിടെ കോഴിക്കോടിന്റെ പ്രോഗ്രാം ഉണ്ടാവും.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Nihas.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank Krishna sir for giving us the message on the World Labour Day, and again KM, who came up with a very crisp and clear and very informative talk on atopic dermatitis. I thank Joe sir for joining us and being throughout the meeting, controlling the meeting, and being answering queries also. I like to thank our state OB, Narayan sir and Bala sir for always being with IIP Kozhikode for most of the meetings, and seniors, President sir, Shaji sir, and our regular all the members who regularly join us. I thank all of you, and also thank Ranjit, our web editor, who hosts most of our meetings. Today we had a small issue technically, so we couldn't actually go live on YouTube today, but we have recorded this meeting. We will be uploading it soon, and we'll be putting the link in the all the groups. Thank you all again, and invite you all for the next meeting on Wednesday. The talk is by Dr. Ashraf, that is on developmental pediatrics. So Wednesdays we'll be starting our meeting at 8:30 p.m. as it was being requested by the Cochin IIP, as they are having a meeting at 7 o'clock. So next meeting is on 8:30 Wednesday 8:30 p.m. So thank you all once again, and see you on Wednesday.
Thank you. Thank you.
യെല്ലോ വീക്കാണ് എല്ലാരും എല്ലാ മീറ്റിംഗിലും യെല്ലോ ഡ്രസ് ഇട്ട് വരാൻ ശ്രമിക്കാം.
മഞ്ഞ ബനിയ നന്നായിട്ടുണ്ട് മാറ്റിയിട്ട്
പറയുന്നത് എനിക്കറിയാം, അതാ ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞത്.
നെക്സ്റ്റ് ടൈം റിയാസ് വാങ്ങിത്തരുമെന്ന് വിചാരിക്കാം. ഓക്കെ, താങ്ക് യു.
Okay, good night.
Good night.
Good night.